You on IG?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So this is our first live on YouTube. We got to work out the kinks, man.
Yeah.
You know, it ain't all perfect, just like building houses.
Right.
You might not get it right the first time. Just work them kinks out.
That's right. That's Troy. There ain't nobody.
Yeah, patch them through, Grip.
We're recording on that, Grip?
I think.
Live Pete. All right. We'd like to welcome everybody to our first webinar. It's live, as you can see. Today we're going to go over quite a bit, so get your pens and pads ready. We're going to actually teach you guys how to build wealth through building houses.
Man, first off, which camera are we looking at, Peter?
Yes.
Oh, this one? Okay. So yeah, today it's our first time going live. We're having a few difficulties. We wanted a PowerPoint, but it ain't up. So we're just gonna get into it and talk about it. So I got my PowerPoint here. One of the things that we want to do today is share, like KP said, how do you actually get started building houses? And we just gonna break down the building process. How do you build houses? Because right now there's a 4 million home shortage, and we know there's a great opportunity to get in and learn how to start building. Even though there may be a lot of foreclosures, I'm telling you, there's still going to be a shortage of housing. Look all over the nation. There's a 4 to 5 million shortage, depending on what report you look at. So the opportunity always lies when you can solve a problem. There's a shortage on affordable housing. There's a shortage on, college student housing. There's just a shortage. So when you can learn how to solve a problem, and a shortage right now is a problem, I'm telling you, you can build wealth through real estate. We've done a lot of different things, and over the last several years, building houses from the ground up has been one of our top things. So we're going to get into it, but before we get into it, we'll do a proper introduction of ourselves, because there may be some people that are new to the channel. So we're just going to introduce ourselves first, and then we'll get into what we're going to talk about today.
All right, guys. My name is Kelley Parker. I go by KP the Builder, and I'm one half of the Construction Kings. I've been doing real estate now about a decade. I've been in the Atlanta area about 7 years, doing everything from wholesaling to renovating to building new construction. As well as being a licensed real estate agent, I mean, we pretty much hit every corner of real estate when it comes to single family and residential.
So my name is Genoj, the Construction King. That's what I go by. My name is Gene Johnson. I've been in real estate now for over 15 years. I was a top agent at Keller Williams Atlanta Partners. I sold, thousands of houses as an agent, had one of the #1 teams at KW for several years. But my goal was always to be a real estate investor. So I got into some wholesaling. I did a lot of wholesaling back in 2011, 12, 13. I cut my teeth on fix and flips. That's how I learned how to renovate houses. I got intrigued by that. I built my first house in 2013. Fast forward now, I have a construction company and built and renovated over 500 houses. A few years ago, actually, not even a few years ago, we actually been teaching a lot longer than a few years.
Right.
Because even when I think back to 2015 and 16, people would always say, hey, how do I learn how to fix and flip? How do I learn how to build? How do I learn how to invest in real estate? And a lot of the people were just maybe agents or people that we knew or people that reached out. And it wasn't till we just kept getting an influx of requests that we said, you know what? We need to teach people the skill set. We need to show people the different ways that they can make money building houses or fixing and flipping houses. So we officially launched our school this year. We have, boot camps and stuff that we've been doing for a little bit over a year now, and it's just went through the roof. Like so many people want to learn this skill set, and rightfully so. It's a skill set that can make you a lot of money and build you a lot of wealth. And one thing I found that, like, because we're agents, we come from an agent background, a lot of agents, they know how to find the properties, they know how to evaluate the deals, but the only missing piece is that construction piece. Yeah. So I don't care if you're trying to learn how to fix and flip or learn how to build new, you have to know the construction. And once you know the construction, and of course, you know how to structure your deals, then you can kind of put it all together. So we're gonna get into the process tonight. So I'll turn it back over to you, let you chime in, and we'll get into that process, man.
Yeah, as Gene mentioned, guys, listen, is speaking to the agents that are currently watching, like he just stated, you guys know how to run numbers, run comps, find deals as far as great locations and good prices, but you're missing that aspect of how to evaluate these deals because you don't understand what it costs to build. So we're going to briefly go over our phases of construction to help you and anyone else who may want to get into this space of building new construction homes out very briefly. So again, we thank y'all for tuning in. Please comment on this. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We're constantly dropping the videos. We're going to redrop this same live stream later, and it'll have the PowerPoint that we're actually going over. So you guys just stay watching. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section and we'll try to answer them.
Before we get into the process, let's talk about some of the houses that we've done, some of the houses that some of our students are doing. Because this live or webinar, whatever you want to call it, and I got my notes here, you know, we don't care if you don't have any experience. We all start something somewhere at some point in time with no experience. We started with no experience. So this is for you if you don't know, if you don't have any experience, you're looking to learn how to fix and flip, learn how to build from the ground up. This is also for you if you don't have all the funds and you're trying to figure out how to actually structure your deals. You know, that's something that we will teach you. Also, if you want to learn how to, of course, build houses. And this is for you if you really want to learn how to build wealth in real estate. There are a lot of different ways to build wealth in real estate. So we're going to get into that tonight. Just some of the deals that we've done, like I say, I've built and renovated over 500 houses. KP has been a part of a lot of those, along with some other partners. But just to name off a few properties, 895 Paoli. That was a property that did over $225,000 in East Atlanta. Y'all can look up the address. Did that with a partner, Anna. 2091 Tudor Castle. That was a property we did with Desi and Ross. You know, did over 150 on that house. 1499 Rupert Road, Decatur, another new construction property that did over 90,000. 3060 Glendale Court. That property did about 75+ thousand. That was a property he did with another investor, Julian. 3676 Daisy did about 75,000. 844 Beecher Road in Atlanta. That property did about 55,000. 2087 Osley Court in Decatur. That property did about 50 grand. 360 Lake Avenue. That property did about 100 grand. That was a new build in Hateville. 813 Coventry. That was one of Anna's properties that did well over 250,000. That's a lot of bread on one house. $250,000 off of one house? Yeah. Like, if you're in the right area, the right location, and you got the right product, you can make massive profits building from the ground up. We also do a lot of build to rent. 2399 McAfee Road, that was a property that we built and we kept as a rental property. 2779 McDonough Road in Hampton. That was a lot that we purchased for 40,000. We put about 275 in. It appraised for 420. We was able to refinance it at 80% and get a new loan on it at I think it was like 334, which is 80%, and it's cash flowing $700 a month. Like on a property like that, 3 to 5 years, it's going to produce a lot of income. And we literally have no money in that property. Refinanced it, took all of our money out of it, now is cash flowing $700 a month, and even at a 3 to 5%, appreciation a year, we'll do really good on that property down the line. So it's not always about building and selling. It's about holding properties as well. You make more money holding. We just do a mixture of both. Got some other properties here, but let's talk about some of our students, man. We've been doing this a long time, and it's second nature to us. But I'm really proud of our students. Like, you know how crazy it is to do a boot camp in February of 2022, and in a little bit over a year, and a couple months later, to have almost 30-something people either buying lots under contract or actually building houses. That's a lot of people. And I know we're gonna have more people because we got over 75 people in the coaching program.
Right.
So that's a lot of people in 1 year.
I mean, that's phenomenal, because if we look at the amount of students that we acquired and the amount that are currently building and getting lots or whatnot, it's like 80%. That's better than college. Like, the numbers that these students are turning over in less than a year or around a year are remarkable. We have students that attended the first boot camp that are on their second or third house, maybe fourth in a year. And that's how you build generational wealth. You learn a trade, you build properties, and you hold one or two of them. Like, over time, we all know that real estate is going to continue to climb. Real estate does this maybe for a year or two, but it's ultimately always climbing. So get into this space of learning how to build your own house, whether you're going to live in it or rent it, or sell it or refi and keep it. I mean, it's just, this is what we've preached for the last year and a half. And everyone who is taking a part and taking action and having the right mindset, we're going to give them the skill set. So when you combine mindset and skill set, it's a great combination.
Yeah, it is. And all these students had, little to no experience. Right. That's the mind-blowing thing. But it comes back down to the process. You got to understand the process and the systems. When you have the right process and systems in place, then yes, you can, apply those systems and follow the process to become successful. And that's what we share and we teach people to do. Just to name a few students, Chris Miller, super proud of him. He got multiple lots right now. He's wrapping up 1010 Violet Street, which is a duplex in Atlanta, Southwest Atlanta. We have Bianca and Jayana, who are building a 4,300 square foot modern home in Conyers.
Right.
Man, when I built my first house, it was 1,600 square feet. They jumped out the gate at 4,300.
Right.
That's ambitious, but they also they're tapped into the resources and information, so that it gives them the confidence to do it. Because I wouldn't have the confidence to jump out there and build something that big myself. I built 1,600 square feet. So it's all about the systems and the processes. Right. We got several other students, man. We got Thomas Womack. He got a property in Griffin, 105, I think Lake Chase Drive. Pat Zachary, Danu. I can go on and on, man. We got a lot of people shaking and baking. We got another student, Gene. Yeah. The other Gene, he's building at 231 Darwish. Bunch of students, man. So it's all about the systems and the process and understanding your numbers. That's really what it boils down to.
Right.
So without further ado, man, let's get into the process. So tonight, I'm going to break it down to you guys. And we've actually broke everything down into 10 phases. And what I'm going to do is cover the first 5 phases. And then KP is going to cover the last 5 phases. There's a lot of parts into building a house. So breaking it down into the phases and then having things under those sub phases makes it easier and makes it, so that you can just follow that process. The first 5 phases that I will cover are going to be plans and permits. Then I want to talk about the actual site work. Then we'll talk about foundation. Then we'll talk about the framing, and then we'll get into the mechanicals. So let's talk about the plans and permits first. So if you've ever been to one of our events, whether it's a boot camp or a pop-up, we always know the very first thing that you need to evaluate a deal or to evaluate a piece of land, you got to get a survey. We meet so many people that buy land that don't get surveys. A survey tells you so much about what you're buying. You know, it tells you the boundary lines on your property. It also tells you, you can get topography, so you can see the trees, where the trees are located. You can locate where maybe the sewer line is, any utilities that might be on the property. You can see the contour of the property, whether the lot slopes down or slopes up, or whether it's flat. It tells you exactly what you're buying. So if you go under contract with a property, you must get a survey under it. That's rule number one. Do not buy any piece of land without getting a survey, because it tells you what you're buying. And you do want to know what you're buying, right? I've had, you know, investors who have bought surveys thinking they were getting, you know, something, and actually end up buying something different than what they bought because they didn't understand where the boundary lines are. So why would you even buy a piece of property without a survey? The other thing is, you want a recent survey. I don't care if the seller tells you that they have a survey. A lot of times these sellers have surveys from 20 or 30 years ago, and a lot has changed since then in terms of accuracy on boundary lines. So you want a recent survey. Now, if they have a recent survey, you can call the survey company that's on that survey and ask questions pertaining to that survey so that you understand what you're buying. So a survey is number one. Getting a soil test, a perk test, is also key, especially if you're in an area or you have to put septic on that property. Because if that soil is not good enough, you may not be able to put septic on that property. So you have to get a soil test, you know, and then also by doing that, you can find out if there's rock or any other things on that soil that can prevent you from either building or running into major issues that can cost you a lot of money. You know, I had a friend, and he bought a lot in Fayetteville, and when he told me what he bought it for, I couldn't believe it. And the first thing in my mind, I said, I'm like, you know, what's wrong with that lot? I've never known somebody to buy almost an acre lot in Fayetteville in a subdivision for like 20 grand. And sure enough, the lot had rock on it. And, you know, he wasn't able to build on it. Now, he could have built on it, but the issue was it was going to cost so much money to remove that rock that it really didn't make sense to build and try to sell it for a profit. So it didn't make sense. So he ended up losing his money by not getting a survey on the property. So rule number one, buy a survey. Also make sure, especially if you're doing a septic tank, get a soil test done. Those are two things that you need when you're trying to understand what you're actually buying. You don't want to make that type of investment and not understand what you're actually buying. So getting that survey and soil test is key. The other thing that you can do, or that the survey does, is not only does it tells you the boundary lines, you understand what the setbacks are, the front setbacks, the side, the back, and the front. You understand what the zoning is. You also understand what you can and cannot build. That zoning dictates a lot of stuff. I talk to people all the time. Hey, Gene, I got these 10 acres, man. I want to build an apartment complex or townhouses. Well, guess what? If it's not zoned for that, you may not be able to do it. And if you don't have, you know, similar adjacent zoning, the likelihood of you rezoning it might be slim. And depending on where you're at, that zoning process can be a costly an expensive process. So understanding, what the zoning is going to dictate what you can build. You can't just buy a piece of land and decide, hey, I want to build a duplex on it or townhouses on it. No, it doesn't work like that. So understanding when you get that survey, what that lot is zoned for, you can have conversations with the surveyor or have conversations with the county to figure out what you can and cannot build on it. Especially like when you're in the city of Atlanta or Decatur, there are certain pieces of property and certain zoning where you only can build so much. You only can build a certain percentage of that lot. It could be 35%, it could be 50%. There's a lot of things that go into building a house. So understanding what you're actually buying when it comes to land is super important, because you don't want to end up buying a piece of land and you got to turn it into a kickball field or a dog park, because that's what's going to happen. I've seen it happen. I've seen people buy land and the soil wasn't good and they could not do a septic tank, and so the land is still there unbuilt. So getting that survey and soil test is very, very important. Once you actually get the survey and soil test, you can kind of have a conversation up front with, maybe it's the surveyor that's doing the survey, to understand what that zoning is and also understand what you could potentially build on that property. That's usually my conversation. What are the setbacks on this lot? Potentially, what can I build? How big of a house can I build? How wide can I make it? How deep can I make it? So I can jumpstart the process on putting my plans together, because you're going to need a set of architectural plans in most of these counties. Every county is different, but most counties are going to require you to have a site plan. And all the site plan is think about a survey with the house sitting on the survey, and it spells out exactly what you're developing on that site. It shows you where your erosion control is going to go on that site, which is typically your silt fence and your tree save. It shows you where you're going to put your construction entrance. If you have a septic tank, it shows you where that septic tank is going to be, where your septic lines are going to be. Shows you exactly where the house is going to sit, where your driveway is going to come up. If you're in an area that have restriction on trees, it'll show you what trees you can cut down, what trees you have to cut down, what trees are going to be in a critical root zone that have to go. It's going to show you